roads lead to Rome, boasted the ancient Romans. For 500 years, from about 27 BCE to 476 CE, the city of Rome was the capital of one of the greatest empires the world has ever seen. Road markers that stretched thousands of miles showed the distance to Rome. But the empire's 50 million people were connected by more than just roads. They were also connected by Roman law, Roman customs, and Roman military might. At its height around 200 CE, the Roman Empire spanned the whole of the Mediterranean world, from North Africa to the Scottish border, and from Spain to Syria. During this time, the Roman world was generally peaceful and prosperous. There was one official language and one code of law. Roman soldiers guarded the frontiers and kept order within the empire's boundaries. Proud Romans believed that the empire would last forever, an idea that would eventually be challenged. As one historian wrote, Rome perished, yet it lived on. Rome's influence continues to live on in so many ways today, in art, architecture, engineering, language, writing, philosophy, law, and citizenship. As we learn about the legacy of Rome, pay attention to the details of each aspect of Rome's legacy in the modern world, and see if you can answer the questions that follow. The Romans adopted aspects of other cultures by modifying and blending them with their own. This was true of Roman art. The Romans were especially influenced by the art of the Greeks, which inspired historians to coin the term Greco-Roman art. The Romans were skilled in creating realistic statues. They imitated Greek sculpture, but were particularly good at making their sculptures true to life. The homes of wealthy Romans were decorated with colorful murals and mosaics. Again, the Romans took existing art forms and made them their own. They painted beautiful frescoes, a type of mural created on moist plaster with water-based paints. Roman frescoes often illustrated three-dimensional landscapes and other scenes. Looking at one of these frescoes was almost like looking through the wall at a scene outside. You've probably seen similar murals in modern restaurants, banks, on the sides of buildings, and in other public places. Romans were also great patrons or sponsors of art. They paid thousands of painters, sculptors, and craftspeople to create their works. As a result, the Romans left behind many examples to inspire future generations. 1,000 years after the fall of the empire, Roman art was rediscovered during a period called the Renaissance. Renowned artists such as Michelangelo revived the Greco-Roman style in their paintings and sculptures. A famous Roman example is the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, which shows scenes from the Bible painted by Michelangelo in the 1500s. A Roman would feel right at home viewing this amazing creation. Roman art has continued to influence painters and sculptors today. Roman styles were especially popular during the early days of the United States, when Americans imitated these styles to give their art dignity and nobility. For example, many statues in the capital of Washington, D.C. reflect a strong Roman influence. The Romans' greatest contributions to science and technology came in the fields of architecture and engineering. Roman builders learned from the Greeks, Etruscans, and others before adding their own genius to take construction in new directions. The Romans learned how to use the arch, the vault, and the dome. A vault is an arch used to support a roof. A dome is a series of vaults that form a high, rounded roof. The Romans were the first to make widespread use of concrete, which they made by mixing broken stone with sand, cement, and water, and then allowing the mixture to harden. With the use of concrete, they were able to construct much bigger arches than anyone had previously attempted. Roman baths and other public buildings often had great arched vaults. The Pantheon, a magnificent temple, now a church that still stands in Rome, is famous for its huge dome. The Romans also invented a new kind of building, the stadium. This was a large open-air structure. The Romans used concrete to build tunnels into the famous Colosseum in Rome. The tunnels helped spectators to reach their seats, a feature that modern stadiums still use. The grand style of Roman buildings has inspired many architects throughout the centuries. One Roman innovation that was widely copied is the Triumphal Arch, a huge monument built to celebrate great victories or achievements. One modern example is Arc de Triomphe in Paris, France, which celebrates the victories of the French Emperor Napoleon in the early 1800s. Today, it is a national war memorial of France. Romans revolutionized engineering as well as architecture. They were the greatest builders of roads, bridges, and aqueducts in the ancient world. About 50,000 miles of road connected Rome with the frontiers of the empire. The Romans built their roads with layers of stone, sand, and gravel. Their techniques set the standard of road construction for 2,000 years. In some parts of Europe, vehicles still drive on freeways built over old Roman roads. The Romans also set a new standard in developing aqueducts. Although they did not invent the aqueduct, the Romans once again learned the technique and improved upon it as they created a system of aqueducts for Rome. The aqueducts brought water from about 60 miles away to the homes of the wealthiest citizens, as well as to the city's public baths and fountains. The Romans built aqueducts in other parts of the empire as well. The water system in Segovia, Spain, still uses part of the ancient Roman aqueduct. Remains of Roman aqueducts can also be seen in Europe, North Africa, and Asia Minor. One legacy of Rome that affects modern society every day is the Roman language, Latin. English speakers use the Latin alphabet, although Roman Latin used 23 letters and English uses 26. Many English words come from Latin. Additionally, Latin proverbs are still in use. For example, look at the reverse side of a US dime. You'll see the words e pluribus unum, which translates from Latin to out of many, one. This is the official motto of the United States. The motto reminds Americans of how the colonies joined together to form the United States. Several modern European languages developed from Latin, including Italian, Spanish, and French. English is a Germanic language, but it was strongly influenced by the French-speaking Normans who conquered England in 1066 CE. English has borrowed heavily from Latin, both directly and by way of French. The influence of Latin can be seen in many words. For example, the modern calendar comes from one adopted from Julius Caesar. The name of several months are derived from Latin. August honors Caesar Augustus. September comes from the Latin word meaning seventh month. The Roman year used to start in March. Many English words begin with Latin prefixes. A prefix is a set of letters at the beginning of a word that carries its own meaning. Attaching a prefix to a root word creates a new word with a new meaning. In fact, the word prefix is formed this way because it comes from the Latin word pre, which means in front, and fix, which means to fasten or attach. The table you see illustrates other examples. Roman numerals are still often used in the modern world. The Romans used a system of letters to write numbers. Look at the table. You may see Roman numerals such as these on clocks, sundials, and on the first pages of books. You might also find Roman numerals on buildings and in some movie credits to indicate the year in which they were made. The Romans combined the 7 letters shown in the table to express much larger numbers. Putting letters after another adds the value of the additional letters. For example, VII means 5 plus 3, that equals 8. And XX means 10 plus 10, that equals 20. Putting a letter before the letter with a greater value subtracts its value. For example, IV means 5 minus 1, and that's 4. And IX means 10 minus 1, that equals 9. Many Romans followed a philosophy known as Stoicism. First developed by the ancient Greeks, this system of thinking was adopted by the ancient Romans and followed until about 200 CE. Stoics believed that a divine intelligence ruled all of nature, and that a person's soul was a spark of this divine intelligence. These individuals believed that the right way to live was in a way that agrees with nature and its laws. To the Stoics, the key to life was to maintain a good character, which meant having virtues such as self-control and courage. Stoics disagreed with those who argued that happiness meant only avoiding pain and only experiencing pleasure. They highly prized duty and welfare of the community over their personal comfort. Additionally, they believed that true happiness was the peace of mind that came from living up to Stoic ideals. The most famous Roman Stoic was an emperor, Marcus Aurelius. who documented his private thoughts in a book he called To Himself. Later, it was retitled Meditations. In his writings, Aurelius constantly reminded himself of Stoic ideals. He said not to worry if you encounter ungratefulness, insults, disloyalty, or selfishness, because if you think and act rightly, none of these things can hurt you. Stoics were famous for bearing pain and suffering bravely and quietly. To this day, someone who behaves in this way is referred to as a Stoic. The Stoics' beliefs about justice and nature fit very well with Roman ideas about law. Roman law covered marriages, inheritance, contracts, and countless other aspects of daily life. Modern law codes in European countries such as France and Italy are partially based on Roman laws. Another legacy of the Romans was their concept of justice. The Romans believed that nature provided a universal law of justice. Under this natural law, they believed, every person has natural rights. Romans aimed to spread this idea by applying it to all citizens of the empire. Judges in Roman courts attempted to make just or fair decisions that respected individual rights. Like most people, though, the Romans did not always live up to their ideals, as the courts did not treat the poor or enslaved people equally with the rich, and emperors often made bad laws. The Roman ideals of justice and natural law still survive. The U.S. Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution were influenced by Roman ideas about law and government. Like judges in Roman courts, modern-day judges make decisions based on these ideals, as well as on written law. Similarly, many people today believe that all humans have basic rights and no law can take those away.